Hi and welcome back to 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗏𝗀𝗀. Today guys, we are going to be diving down into the charts to take a look at what's been going on most recently here with Cardano's ADA. Now as I get into this video, if you do find it useful and informative, hit the like button, I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so you are going to be kept up to date with everything that we do here at 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗏𝗀. If you haven't yet joined us in Discord, links in the description down below. Fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. I don't think you're going to be disappointed by what you find, so why not go ahead and check it out. Links in the description down below. Right, let's jump right down into this technical analysis here on on Cardano, see what's going on here. Right, so we're just on the hourly chart. We can see that we've had some pretty good moves to the upside. Right, we've actually hit this high point here, and we are potentially tracking some kind of ABC correction move to the downside. Right, so we are looking at an A wave down here, pretty sharp, clean drop from the high point that we had in the early hours. We're then pushed up again, a nice ABC move to the upside, and now we're tracking down. And this is actually looking, like it should actually just come down probably to the support level of about 78.5. This area that we've been kind of supporting on before. Now, if we actually take a look at this, we have a range here, the high point of 82.1 and the low point of 78.5. We've been stuck in here for a while. And what we've actually seen is a breakout with this wick here and a couple of breakouts right here, but we're unable to kind of get a close above it and to stay above this threshold. So we are struggling a little bit here. Now, as the stochastic RSI is about midway through, it is indicating a potential push higher before we actually pull back down, right? So this particular wave count is an interesting one because it is actually indicating a low point, but it could also be that it ends up being an expanding flat correction, as in we push up first before we start to pull back down. And if that is the case, we'd actually look to go higher than our wick and origin position at 83.4. Okay, so there's a couple of different ways that we can look at it. Currently, it's looking like it's going to track down towards our 78.5-cent range, and we can just measure this based on the current positions of what we've got here. Let me just pull that back in a line. And as we kind of push this over, we can see that's just there, about 78.7, a little bit higher than our support line, but we could quite easily wick down and hit that support level, then bounce from it, right? So that's the current situation, but it's also possible that we actually end up pushing the B wave higher than origin, and the C wave still comes down lower than A wave, creating a flat correction. Okay, and I only say this because the stochastic RSI would allow us to move upwards here just a little bit. Okay, for most part, we would expect a standard kind of move like this. And inside here, we also have a sub wave count of an ABC. So there's nothing special about that. It's just that stochastic RSI and the momentum. It isn't looking like it wants to slow down any right now. So we are prepared for potentially seeing a bit more of a push to the upside. Okay, so on that note, we should also note that this current move inside here is also showing us with an A, a B, and a potential C coming down. Now, this one actually is indicating more of a support level to be found at about 79.2, creating a double bottom. Okay, so we are, tracking a couple of different levels here. And I'm sorry if this is confusing for any of you viewers, but basically what we have is the potential to come down towards that low point of 78.5, but also the ability to push up a little bit higher beforehand. But also at the same time, we have a sub wave count indicating that we are more than likely going to come down to 79.2 and find a double bottom. So there's in amongst these three different options that we have to kind of derive what we think is the most probable. And right now, I think the most probable is probably going to be a double bottom before a bounce upwards. Okay, and I think this is because we've got other timelines, not just the hourly, that we have to take into consideration. As we come up into our 4-hourly chart, we're already in the overbought area. We are looking for corrective action here. And as we come into the 8-hourly, it's the same story. We're already overbought. So we should be thinking about moves towards the downside. And the daily has actually been moving up pretty progressively. So a corrective move on the daily isn't really required right now, but it is something that we should be thinking about longer term, or at least mid-term anyway. And so as I come back down into this hourly chart and we start thinking, what is the probability of moving up right now, is actually quite slim. It's possible, but it's probably not probable. And therefore, we should probably think about moving down towards our low area here of 79.2, create the double bottom, and then potentially bounce towards the upside from there. Alternatively, this ABC as it's currently marked out is also something that I think is highly probable as well. That is where we end up going down towards the 78.5 cent range. Now, all of this is, small time volatility on the hourly chart here, right? And sometimes that's great for trading and things like that. But what about the longer term holders? And for that, it's really important that we actually take a look at the bigger picture. And for that, we're going to take a look at this weekly chart. Now, the weekly chart is actually looking like an expanding flat correction. Okay, we have an A wave that comes down. Inside here is an ABC. We have a very clear move upwards. This is the all-time high at $3.10. There is no wave count in here. It's pretty much straight up there. Pretty interestingly, it's a B wave high in my opinion. This then brings us down into that final C wave low, going down lower than the A wave. Okay, this completes the expanding flat correction, and we're waiting now for the reversal to start to come in here, which I would expect to be an impulsive move, considering the impulsive nature of what we've seen so far on this weekly chart. So from here, I'm looking for, something to the effect of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 move. Okay, too soon to know for sure, but that's kind of what I'm expecting to see. The reason for this comes down to, again, the momentum indicator, the stochastic RSI. It's currently indicating that we are heavily oversold on this weekly chart, looking for a good push to the upside. The last time that we were this oversold was down here in the lows of the June and July of 2021 before we set the all-time high. Okay, before that, we were oversold down in wave 2 before we got that fantastic run in early 2021 where we saw very significant gains on Cardano. Okay, so we are tracking pretty well on this weekly chart to think of huge progressive moves to the upside. Now we've seen an ABC expanding flat correction complete, we are thinking that this is going to get a reversal really, really soon. Now the monthly chart is also in a really good spot. If we actually just bring this down a little bit, you can see the last time that we were oversold like this on our monthly chart was actually way back in 2019. And this was basically when Bitcoin started to have a good run to the upside and started to actually have a correction come down. When it started to correct down, ADA did as well. And we actually saw this come down deeper in the March 2020 correction. Which obviously was the pandemic crash. Now, we are in the same position that we were back then, only starting from a higher position. And we already know what happened when we were actually that low previously. There is a big move coming here for Cardano, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on it, and I don't think that's a very wise idea. Obviously, I'm not a financial advisor. I cannot offer you financial advice, but I can read this data and I can tell you what my thoughts and opinions are on what I think is likely to happen next, and Cardano is poised for a very big move in my opinion. Now, as I come over, we're going to have a look at some additional data. This is actually going to be taking a look at the transactional volume across various different blockchain technologies. So here we have things like, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Litecoin, Tron, Polkadot, just to name a few. Now, we've actually ranked this by the transactional volume in the last 24 hours, and Cardano ADA is right up there at the very top. It's got $26.75 billion worth of transactional volume, which is really phenomenal. Bitcoin only comes in at 22.8, with Ethereum in third place at 10 billion. Now, what makes this even more astonishing is that the active addresses. Cardano has 152,000 active addresses, whereas Ethereum has 637,000. The transaction count is about 130,000 transactions on Cardano, with 1.19 million transactions on Ethereum. So the questions then beg us as to what is going on here. Why has Cardano got transactional volume based in USDT or USD, nearly 2.6 times higher than that of Ethereum? Yet, it has practically, 1/10 of the transactions. This is quite astonishing, really. And as we kind of get down into this in a little bit deeper, we can also see just how cheap Cardano is in relation to its comparative counterparts, right? We've got Bitcoin here at $390,000 in transaction fees. We've got, obviously, Ethereum with its astonishing $10.2 million worth of fees in the last 24 hours. Cardano merely $38,300 in the last 24 hours. Now, what about blocks? Well, this is also another interesting point. Cardano has produced 4,000 blocks in the last 24 hours. Ethereum, 6,400. Yet, Cardano is producing nearly 2.6 times more transactional volume in basically 2/3 of the blocks that Ethereum is creating its $10 billion worth of transactional volume. So this is all quite interesting stuff, but we can go a little bit deeper and we can actually take a look at the inflows and outflows on a couple of these blockchains as well. So something that I do follow for Bitcoin quite a bit is to know what's going into exchanges and what's coming out of exchanges. For Bitcoin, we have $531 million in the last 24 hours go onto exchanges and 1.32 billion leave the exchanges. With Ethereum, however, you see 1.5 billion go on and only 1.3 leave the exchanges, 1.3 billion leaving. This basically means the net difference change here is actually pretty bad for Ethereum, but really positive for Bitcoin. Now, I don't have the same numbers here for Cardano, but these are really interesting numbers to say that people are not necessarily accumulating ETH right now, but I do think they are potentially accumulating Cardano, and then definitely are accumulating Bitcoin at these rates. So really interesting data. It's worth just kind of noting, what's been going on here with Cardano in terms of the transactional volume, the number of addresses, the number of transactions, and of course, the network is growing. It is only really just starting out. So as we start to think about dApps launching, and we start thinking about what might the next chapter of Cardano be, the price action of ADA is right at the core of it. We have pretty much high expectations based on all of this data that I have at my fingertips here, and it is telling me that actually the price is more than likely going to surge up after this fourth wave correction completed. And so we are potentially going to be talking about moving up pretty significantly. I don't really have any good kind of price expectations for you. It might be $7.50, it might be $10, but I really want to see the next kind of set of waves to see how that actually plays out. But my expectations here, guys, are that the more dApps that start launching on this ecosystem, the more transactions that will start to increase, the more transactions that start increasing, the higher the demand for ADA. The more demand for ADA, the more dApps, the more transactions, the tighter the squeeze on the supply, and supply and demand is absolutely key to price discovery. And as a result of that, I do think Cardano is going to be in a really strong position by the end of 2022. Yes, guys, I'm going to leave this video there. If you have found it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you are going to be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With all that said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.